Hello, everybody. All right, so welcome to this special late edition of the Mikestand. So I guess I will give you guys a bit of an update, as it were. As soon, of course, as some other stuff happens here. There we go. Alrighty then. All right. So, anyways, okay. So, first off, let me, of course, address the thing we've been talking about the last few days. So, it is official. I am now officially done with jury duty, meaning that starting tomorrow we'll be back to our regular time all 6 days of the week, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Um, we were excused today. Basically, got there, used the restroom, and then as I came out of the restroom, the bailiff was calling roll call by our juror ID numbers. And then just after I had responded present and they were about to get on to the next number, the court clerk came out and basically said that we were all done. So, um, so basically I'm done with jury duty now. So we'll be back to our regular schedule starting tomorrow. Of course, it was not going to affect Sundays because, of course, they don't do juries on Sundays. But other than that, so we'll be back. So we'll be back starting tomorrow at our normal time of 5 Pacific and 8 Eastern. And as we wait to see, we're giving people a chance here to come in. Of course, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here we talked about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, I gotta do something here because apparently there's a little goofy going on, I guess, Rumble right now. But all right, so there we go with that. All right, so we give people a chance to come in here. So we're past the 3 minute mark. So I guess I'll talk about what's on. So tonight we'll be of course doing the latest um, Indie Comic Showcase article from Bleeding Fool from Chris Braley. And apparently he covered 4 books this week. So that's interesting. He'd been covering 2 the last few. Normally it's like averages around 3, but lately been doing 2. But now we're doing 4 this week. So we're doing that. Of course, get all caught up on all the latest in terms of wrestling wrap up. Looking also possibly ahead to this weekend's activities, or maybe we'll just save that for tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll be wrapping things up with this day in each history. So, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started here? And again, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you guys haven't already, I can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, Feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Alrighty then. Let's see. All right, so here we go. We now get started here. Indie Comic Showcase number 308, Battle Raven, Extraordinary Heroes, Dead Inspector, and Bunny. I don't know if it's Bunny or Bunny 2. Article by Chris Braley, published yesterday, October 8th. So, welcome back to another installment of the Indie Comic Showcase, weekly blog where we signal boost a few truly independent comics are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self-publishing on their own. Okay, let me at least add a little more light to the background here. So I'm going to go off camera here for a quick moment. Take care of that. I'll be right back. I'm gone. All right, I'm back. So anyways, let's get back to the article here. All right, so every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a $1 pledge to the $25 bundle. And of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers, or of course, you can catch my show when I cover it as well. I'll give you guys all the info there on it, as much of it as I can. Anyways, on Indie Comic Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, tell you how you can check out the project for yourself. Below we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comic Showcase. Let's jump in. So, the first comic we're looking at here is Extraordinary Heroes by John D. Nickel from the Emerald Comics Group. So let's go ahead, and he's kind of got the old style, like the silver Bronze Age style cover there going, and maybe even the color scheme. So let's go ahead and let's go grab the link here. So this is a Fun My Comic project. Grab that link. All right, so let me go. just think here something real quick here. Alrighty then, so here we go. I will highlight these, of course, on both the YouTube and the Rumble pages there. This is the first book, Extraordinary Heroes from John D. McNichol. We'll get into the interview here in a moment. Of course, feel free to go check. There's the link. I put the links in the chat there for you guys to on both my Rumble and my and YouTube, so you guys can go ahead and check those out. All right, so we'll get into that. Let's see now. So let's get into this. All right, Chris Braley. For readers new to your work, how would you describe Extraordinary Heroes? What's the big deal behind it? John D. McNichol. Extraordinary Heroes is a 4-issue series from Emerald Productions and Ideas, EPI, LLC. The story asks what happens when ordinary people find themselves crossing paths with the greatest superheroes on their world, unquote. What happens when a regular person realizes that while these supers can save the planet, they often struggle with the everyday things, saving relationships, managing money, and simply being functional adults. Astro City touched on this idea a bit, but its normals, quote unquote, rarely interacted with the heroes. And those heroes generally had their lives together. Their lives together. Extraordinary Heroes takes it further by exploring what happens when your life really intersects with theirs in a personal way. What do you do when the fastest man alive eats you out of house and home, unquote? Or when a neo goddess suddenly loses her eternal youth and has a midlife crisis in front of you, unquote. Oh boy. That's the world of Owen, a single dad working a side gig who accidentally ends up at a party for the heroes he's admired since his teen years. From that night on, his life will never be the same, and neither will theirs. Sounds like an interesting premise. Sounds like a very interesting premise. Let's see. Yeah, what would it be like to actually interact with? All right. And I'm just kind of pausing here because the signal thing on my. All right. So hopefully that was just a temporary issue. All right, so getting back to the article then here, as we will, of course, get ready to move on. All right, so Chris, that's an intriguing premise. Where did the idea come from, and what led you to self-publish it? Is it Jim or John? Just so I know. Oh, John. Okay. John. It came from a few different places. Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns made a huge impression on me. He wrote it when he realized he was nearly 30 and definitely not Batman. His solution? Write about a 50-year-old Batman. My generation, Gen X, 80s kids loved it. But now that we are in our 50s and none of us turned out to be Batman, I started asking myself, what now? Okay, that's a very interesting take. Getting his inspiration from probably what is considered one of the most iconic stories, not just in the DC universe, or DC Elseworlds, but also in comicdom altogether. One of the most influential pieces written from that time period. I also once knew a man who worked 2 full-time jobs plus a weekend side gig just to support his family. His work ethic was kind of a superpower in itself. That inspired me. A lot of, quote, superheroes are people too, unquote, comics like The Watchmen or The Boys show heroes as broken or corrupt. I wanted the opposite, a story where the heroes are extraordinary but simply unequipped for normal life. And finally, I once met a millionaire businessman who only knew how to talk about finance. He didn't know how to communicate beyond that. That got me thinking, what if superheroes were the same way? Brilliant at saving the world, clueless about everything else. Well, there are some people who would say we have people like that in our world. Um, you know, there are a lot of people who like myself, who are on the spectrum, are at times kind of like that. There are many of us who maybe we have, we're very good or very knowledgeable in one or two areas, and everything else is a work in progress, as it were. Um, so that's how extraordinary heroes came together. Owen is every hardworking person out there who doesn't see themselves as special, but turns out to be more heroic than they realize. And through him, the world's mightiest heroes will learn what real strength looks like. Look at that right there. So they're the heroes right there. Chris, you're clearly targeting something very human with this story. Who would you say the comic is for? John? It's for every reader who's ever dreamed of being a superhero but knows they don't have superpowers. It's for people who need to be reminded that raising kids, keeping a job, and being a good spouse are heroics too. Honestly, those skills might be more important than saving the city from a giant robot. Chris, let's dive into your approach. How would you describe your creative style and process? John, I like to revisit stories I loved as a kid and see how they hold up now that I'm an adult in my 50s. How would a real person respond to a superhero they've admired since childhood? Suddenly, walking into their life, maybe even dating or proposing. Most of my writing happens in the hour after I wake up and have my coffee. Before my wife gets up, most of my story ideas develop during my commute to work, when I tell the stories to myself and have fun with the dialogue. Very interesting. I myself just turned 50 a couple of days ago, back on Tuesday, so I'm now part of that 50 plus crowd, as it were. And then I guess he has these little. So, heavy hitter. Let's see. Emerald Productions and Ideas presents Heavy Hitter. Name David Luskin. Power, super strength, and vulnerability. Role tank, frontline fighter. Date of birth 1971. So, if this is set today, he'd be 54, it looks like. You wanted to be him in the 80s, and you just walked in on him playing Xbox. What do you do? Find out in Extraordinary Heroes. Fundraiser begins September 30th at fundmycomic.com. All right. So, Chris, who's helping you bring Extraordinary Heroes to life? John, my, in small quotes, team, is an amazing one-man band named Grayson Bowling. Grayson Bowling. That's a very interesting name. Let's see. He did the cover of my most recent novel, in parentheses here, When the Red Sands Fly by Hillside Publishing, in parentheses, and has also done excellent work for Voyage Comics. I'm the writer, producer, and fundraiser, and he's the everything artist: pencils, inks, coloring, even lettering. He's amazing, and I thank God all the time he's willing to work on my projects. I have also got an amazing team of editors in my hometown of Toronto, comic book fans I've known since high school. Truly, I'm one blessed guy. Chris, how's production going so far? John, the book is written, and so is issue number 2. Grayson will start on the art once his very reasonable fee is raised. We're looking at about 6 months after that happens. Emerald Productions and Ideas presents Blue Streak. Name Edward Schumann. Powers, super speed, increased metabolism. Role, Scout Recon. Date of birth, 1973 AD. So that would make him 52. He was one of your idols in the 80s and just ate all the food in 10 seconds flat. What do you do? Find out in Extraordinary Heroes. Fundraiser begins September 30th at fundmycomic.com. And again, a friendly reminder. Hey, Jefferson Starship Trooper. Yo, hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for popping in. Of course, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, let's see. It looks like Jefferson Starship Trooper had another thing to say here. Let's see what... So, no art been done for the fundraiser, let alone book printed. Hard pass. I'm not throwing away my money. Again, the link is up there. Go check out. I mean, I think he just simply meant the first book is completely done. The second book is what he was talking about in terms of the art not being done yet. Okay, so I think the first book is actually done and ready to go. But at least you find this stuff out though. So at least. But again, the link is in the chat if you want to go check. The links are in the chat there. So if you want to go check those out, feel free to do so. All right, so Chris, you've been diving into crowdfunding to make this happen. What have you learned along the way? John, I've raised money for other things, my kids' school trips, mission trips, etc. But this is brand spanking new territory for me. I've learned I like it. Well, so far anyway. And then Chris asked, once the series kicks off, what's next for you and these characters? John, absolutely. Issue 2 is written and focuses on a single mom and a mid-tier superfamily group. Issue number 3 will focus on a cop. What do you do when you're called in to a superpowered situation? Chris, for fans looking to back the project, are there any special perks or extras? John, there's a t-shirt if you want it. It features the artwork of the Super Six, the premier heroes of Owen's world. Emerald Productions and Ideas presents Owen. Name Owen Reach. Powers, working crazy hours to pay the bills. Role, husband, father, teacher, delivery guy. Date of birth, not telling. Okay. In one crazy night, he's had all the above happen to him. What does he do? Find out in Extraordinary Heroes. Fundraiser begins September 30th at fundmycomic.com. Chris, and finally, what would you like to say to readers before we wrap up? John, thank you. I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of stories with you with no wokeness, no politics, and just good stories that folks enjoy. All right, so there we go with that. So before we get into the second one, I do need to step away from the computer for a moment. So let me. He said the writing is done, no art. All right, yeah, I think you're right on that. The writing is 1% of the time necessary to make. Okay, well, here's the thing, though. The thing, as I understand it, the thing with these crowdfunders, right? It's kind of a case where, yeah, okay, the book's not done yet because he's raising the funds himself. He's not being backed by a publisher. Okay, he's raising the funds himself to actually publish the book. Okay, so he's, and of course the signal going a little weak here. I'm just okay. So, anyways, what you do it's like you're basically making an investment. Okay, you're basically kind of pre-ordering the book in a way where you're contributing to him being able to get the book out by paying into it. I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to convince. I'm just giving the information. Okay. If you choose to decide to back the book and put the money in, that's your choice. I just, of course, want to make sure that you're aware of of all the information. That's all I'm doing. So, If after I've explained what crowdfunding is to you, if you're still a hard pass, that's your choice. I'm just simply putting the information out there, trying to trying to basically trying to just get the information out there. Okay, let's see. Sounds like a scam. Send me the money and I'll hire an artist to make a book. Well, okay, the thing is, okay, I'm sorry you feel that way, but the fact is that a number of comic book creators, not just and many of them independent, but also some big names like Ethan Van Sciver, John Malin, Gabe Eltebe, have actually Mike Barron, Chuck Dixon, many of the, many independent creators and some of these big names I just mentioned have actually gone into the idea of crowdfunding, or self-publishing their book. Okay, and it's actually been pretty successful. And like the site, I mean, again, if you want more information on it, you want to look into it a little bit more, the links are up in the chat, or at least for this book, the Fund My Comic link is up. Then I'll be putting other links up as we go along. Okay. But this is kind of the way a lot of independent comic creators are doing it, and many of them have found success. And a lot, from what I understand, the some of my fellow YouTubers are doing it too, like Rick Piper from Cross Comics, Apex from Apex Comic, Rex Christian from Devil Flyer. So again, a lot of these guys are doing it now more that way, and all right. So let's see what you've added so far. So I did read up to send me the money and I'll hire an artist. Okay. EBS has collected hundreds of thousands of dollars and is years delayed in mailing books. Well, I mean, I think he still has though mailed books, but again, a lot of the people are, I think a lot of people have actually found success going about this route, and again, I'm just simply putting the information out there. Okay, the link for that particular one from John and I think all these guys we're going to be profiling here. Are doing the crowdfunding. I mean, crowdfunding is becoming a thing. Has become a thing in the last 5 years. I mean, it's not just now. Granted, particularly with the publishing side of it, like with not just with Fund My Comic, but Indiegogo and Kickstarter as well. And then you have more generic crowdfunding outside of publishing, like GoFundMe. That's another crowdfunding source where people, and why I can acknowledge the fact you may have a point to where yes, it could potentially lead to it being a scam if people don't produce the product, but it is a way for them to raise the funds to do the publishing when they don't have a publisher to back them, or when they don't want to have the publisher telling them what they can and can't publish. So, obviously, there are other people who know more about this stuff than I do. I'm just putting the information out there. The links are in the chat, and I'll put more of the links up as we're covering more of these as we continue on here. I do need to step away from the computer for a moment. I do know that Mike Barron did get his books out, and I'm also fairly confident that Chuck Dixon also got his books out on time. So, but anyways, I need to step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back. But I will put some music on while I'm gone, and then when I get back, we'll continue. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyways, so let's get back to the articles here then. Bunny 2, The First Night of the Full Moon by Jens Richard. Oh, there's that. All right, so let me go grab that link, and then I'll put that in the chat. And this looks like another Fun My Comic project. So let me grab that. All right, Bunny 2, The First Night of the Full Moon. So go ahead and put that in the chat, and then There's that. So let me now go, of course. All right, so here's the next. So here are the links to the next book we're going to look at. Bunny 2, The First Night of the Full Moon by James Richard. So there's the link on YouTube there for those who may, or those who are on the YouTube account, they want to go check that out. And for those on Rumble, there it is for you there. And I guess I kind of forgot to. Yeah, I think I just oops. Well, I'll just put that up again here because I think I forgot to. Should more properly put that up there. All right, there we go with that. All right, so let's see. All right, so with that being said, of course, there's a link to that particular article. So let me now get to. So, Bunny 2, The First Night of the Full Moon by James Richard. And there's some art right there. Chris Braley. For readers new to your work, how would you describe your comic? What's the elevator pitch? James Richard. This is an original fantasy, comedy, and action story about keeping the balance between good and evil, where everything is constantly on the edge of new doom. It's a passion and long-term hard work from the entire team to bring you this timeless story about a rabbit who might destroy the world in her attempt to save it. Wow. That's quite a load right there. Quite a load to take on there. Let's see. And a friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Now, as we, of course, continue on here. Let's continue on here. So, Chris, where did the idea for the comic come from? Why did you decide to self-publish it? Jens. It comes from my love of world building and keeping the story entertaining. I self-publish because I want to keep my creative freedom. However, the publisher, Critical Blast, has taken it on, which lets me keep that freedom while gaining support. Critical Blast. So I guess this is a project that our old buddy RJ Carter, is helping out with. So that's cool. And I know he's more into like the distribution side of things as well. So let's see. Chris, who is this comic best suited for, and who are you aiming it at? Jens. It's aimed at adults 12 and up who are looking for originally fun and well-structured stories with fantasy and action. So apparently Jens believes 12-year-olds are adults. Okay, it's kind of interesting. But I guess in this context, maybe, in other words, it's obviously not something for little kids. Maybe middle school and up. Middle school and up. Chris, tell us about your style and creative process. How have you developed them? Jens, I listen carefully to feedback and embrace new points of view to keep improving and creating better work. Chris, can you talk about the creative team behind this project? Jens, for me, friendship and trust in the creative process are most important. Everyone on the team knows the story, plot, and vision inside out. We all share the same enthusiasm and genuinely listen to each other's input. Chris, what's your production workflow like? How far along is the book? Jens, we're about halfway done and expect to be ready in about 6 months with all 30 plus fully colored pages. There's a lot of back and forth from script to sketches, line art, and color. We're not afraid to make changes along the way. And it looks like we got some panels here. Chris, what have you learned from self-publishing and crowdfunding through this process? Jens, I found true fans who really understand what Bunny is about, and I've learned to trust them and the process. Chris, what are your plans beyond this book? Are there more stories coming? Jens, this is book 2 out of 4. The entire story is written and everything is connected throughout the series. Chris, are there any special features or crowdfunding perks for supporters? Jens, we're also creating a video game, a fun beat 'em up browser game. The reward tiers include the comic, plus posters, stickers, and some BTC related items. Chris, any final thoughts you want to share with our readers before we wrap up? Jens, you've never encountered anything like Bunny. Chris, when does your campaign begin and end? Jens, it's currently running and already funded, but we still need all the help we can get. There's no fixed deadline. We keep creating until we're done. There we go with that. And then the next one is the next book we will look at here. Will be Dead Inspector from J.C. Vaughn. See if we got any comments here on any of this. Nope. All right. All right. So anyway, Dead Inspector by J.C. Vaughn. Let me go ahead and go grab the link for that. Let's see. So we've had a couple of fund my con. So this one's a Kickstarter project. This one's a Kickstarter project, as it were. So, all right, let me. I did grab the link. Dead Inspector. All right, and then let me go put that on the Rumble site as well. As soon as the signal, of course, worked itself out here. Okay. Alrighty then. So here are the links for Dead. That's for the of course the YouTube crowd. If you guys want to go check that link out, get more information on the book here than what is provided here in the article. And here's of course the link for the Rumble page. And of course. All right, so there we go with that. All right, so getting back to the article then here. All right, so Dead Inspector by J.C. Vaughn. All right, so Chris Braley. JC, welcome to Indie Comics Showcase. What's the premise of Dead Inspector? JC Vaughn. Let's see. Detective David Hastings accidentally discovers there's been a serial killer operating in Pittsburgh since the 1880s. Sure, it sounds crazy. That's why he and his partner, Detective Steve Metcalf, decide to investigate it on their own. It might be the last mistake they ever make. Chris, that's a gripping hook. Where did the idea come from, and how did it evolve into your latest crowdfunded project? Let's see, JC. The basic idea of this story, beginning, middle, and end, came to me at a party in college. My friend Eddie Bowen and I left the party, drove to my house, and typed up the first notes. As my comics career progressed, I tried multiple times to write it, but it was never as good as the premise. So I'd put it away. There were several false starts. Then I worked with Simone Guglielmini, in parentheses of near death, on a cover for Al Capone Vampire. That was the one that we covered, I think, last week, or we did read something. I think that's the one that we read last week. So, and he delivered a a second piece that I thought was perfect for Dead Inspector. Noel Giddings, who was the original Milestone's coloring chief, painted the cover, and suddenly I knew exactly what I was doing with the property. Giancarlo Caracuzzo, art, and Flavia Caracuzzo, colors, kicked A on the interiors. I'm thrilled with how it turned out. Let's see how things are going in the chat thus far. See if there's any more comments there. Alright, alrighty there. Let's see. Alright, so back to the article here then. Let's see, Chris, who's the target audience for Dead Inspector? JC, horror, suspense, and action fans should like it. There's a bit of a Night Stalker vibe to it. I think it's fine for ages 12 and up. Then we get back to Chris here. How would you describe your writing style, particularly when working in horror and suspense? JC, my style tends to be tailored to the different projects. I love horror and suspense, but I write a lot of other stuff too. My approach to horror is that at least one of my characters will be aware of how crazy the circumstances they're experiencing are and comment on it. I don't break the fourth wall, but they'll generally point out something like, quote, hey, this is pretty weird, right? Unquote. I try to keep them grounded in reality rather than instantly adjusting to the craziness in which they find themselves. All right, I do need to go off camera here for a quick moment, but I'll put some music on and I'll be right back as soon as I, of course, take care of all this. Let's see. All right, so with that being said, of course, all right, so continuing on with the article then, Chris then asked, of course, tell us about the creative team you assembled for this book. JC, several years ago I worked with Giancarlo on Stargate Universe. He did some magnificent work on the first issue, and then MGM's approval process, insane at best, drove him away. I saw his work on American Mythology's Night of the Living Dead, which was awesome. Sent him an 8-page Al Capone vampire story, and he killed on that, too. Then he did a tremendous job on this story. His daughter Flavia did the colors, and they clearly work well together. My regular team of Mindy Lopkin, letters, Don Guzzo, design, and Jason Odom, edits, did their usual great work. Chris, How do you approach production, and what's the status of the project right now? JC, Sean Sipple, my partner on this project, and I decided we really wanted the book to be finished. We're going to crowdfunding. Basically, when the campaign finishes, we'll be at press with the book. As soon as the funds are released, I'll go on press. So basically, he's saying that once he gets the money, he'll send the books out. So we can't wait for people to see it. Other than that, the process is pretty standard. Full script from me. Giancarlo sends pencils. I approve. He inks. Then we go to color and letters. Sometimes letters come with the B&W or black and white, so I can tweak as we go. Jason reviews and makes suggestions. Chris, what lessons has crowdfunding and self-publishing taught you over the years? JC, there's something to learn every single time. Let me see. There are a million mistakes to make and learn not to repeat next time. And even when you overwhelmingly get it right, there are no guarantees. I've backed projects that seemed like Sunfire winners that failed to fund, and others that turned into hits. If this is your calling, you have to keep at it and keep learning. Interesting approach there. All right, so Chris, do you see Dead Inspector as a standalone, or are there more stories to come with these characters? JC, I have several other projects. The penultimate vampire PA, the next Al Capone vampire, and a science fiction graphic novel, The Flight. I'd love to do more stories with the Dead Inspector characters, but this can also stand alone as a one and done. Very possible, and backers don't need to know my other work to read this one. Sounds like he's actually creating, even though he's kind of doing all these more as independent continuities. It's almost like he is eventually to set up to bring them all together as one continuity. Chris, are there any unique perks you've included for backers of this campaign? JC, with one exception, it's pretty straightforward. That exception is that every physical level backer will receive, at no additional charge, at least one random comic I've produced. Could be Stargate Atlantis, could be Zombie Proof, but everyone gets something. So not only will you get this book, but he's also offering, one of his other books at random. So that should be interesting. And that is kind of a nice hook, because then if you get the other book and you like that book too, maybe you might want to continue, seeking out other works, some of his other works. Chris, before we wrap up, any final thoughts for our readers? JC, we're in a real renaissance of creativity in our medium. And so much of it's coming from outside the big two, Marvel and DC. It's exciting to be a part of it. But none of this would be happening without the backers. They're the heart of it. Yeah, I mean, after all, it's the backers that provide the money that can help them produce the book, publish the books, you know, paying all the parties involved, you know, paying for the printing, and designs and all that. So, anyways, now I believe this will be the last book of the because there were 4 here tonight. So let me just double check here. So yeah, we're almost done here. Chris normally just has 3 books that he features, but tonight he decided to feature 4. And of course, we had a pretty good conversation going. The Battle Raven by David O'Mara. Had a pretty good conversation going earlier about crowdfunding and whether or not it was a scam. So, and it looks like this one has its own site altogether. The Raven has landed. So it looks like this one has this one's just he's just totally funding this project, I guess. I'll put the information up again. Battle Raven by David O'Mara. And we will, and before I get into reading more of the article there, I will go ahead and add that to it. All right, then. So let's go ahead and so here are the links for my YouTube viewers. Of course, there's the link to the site. And then here's the link to the other site. Or here's the link to the site for my Rumble viewers. All right, so there we go with that. So let's see. All right, so we'll get into the Battle Raven stuff here. So, Battle Raven by David O'Mara. Actually, before I do that, I do need to step away from the computer for another quick moment. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on while I'm gone. All right, we're back. So, anyways, now now we're gonna of course move on. We're gonna continue on with the article here. We'll get it done soon enough here. So tonight it looks like we are running a little long, but at least, you know, I'm done with jury duty, so I will probably get back to regular time tomorrow. Hey, Chris Braley. To start, can you give us the elevator pitch for Battle Raven? What's the story about? David O'Mara. A high-stakes robbery gone wrong. A high-speed chase through downtown Syracuse. Tough as Nails reporter Teresa Blaine is on the scene and gets a scoop of a lifetime. With the deadly when the deadly pursuit ends at the hands of a mysterious armor-clad figure known only as Battle Raven. Who is he? What is he? And why does he always vanish into the skies of Oswego County? The Raven has landed. Battle Raven, Enter the Battle Raven, is a digital 11-page full-color comic preview with cover and credits available as a digital download. Chris, that sounds intense. Where did the idea for this comic come from, and what made you decide to self-publish? Let's see. David, the spark for Battle Raven first hit me in 1984. Wow, 1984. So much to wonder how old this guy is. That's like 41 years ago. That's for most people a lifetime. When I imagined a teenager discovering a mystical artifact near an abandoned train platform in my hometown of Fulton, New York, decades later, inspired by Irish mythology and disillusioned with modern mainstream comics, I revived that idea, blending it with the legend of Q Cullen, the Morrigan, and other Celtic elements that had long captured my imagination. Q Cullen, I think the Gargoyles cartoon in the 90s hit upon that particular mythos. So, anyways, as the character evolved, I found myself building a full superhero universe rooted in ancient myth, but framed by contemporary themes. With quality of corporate comics in decline, I chose to self-publish to maintain full creative control and bring back the kind of character-driven, mythic storytelling I grew up loving. No mandates, no reboots, just classic storytelling with modern purpose. Yeah, and again, as we talked about several times, that's why a lot of comic book creators self-publish, is to maintain that creative control. Let's see now. All right, so continuing on here then. Chris, who do you see as the ideal readers for Battle Raven? What kind of fans are you aiming to reach? David, Battle Raven is aimed at readers who love myth-infused superhero stories grounded in real-world settings. So I would say maybe Gargoyles too. I mean, this guy probably would get a kick out of Gargoyles. I don't know if this guy ever watched Gargoyles in the 90s or not, but sounds very similar in that regard. It's especially suited for fans of Bronze Age comics and character-driven narratives blending action, mystery, drama, and mythology. If you're into 70s and 80s superhero action, but with a 21st century spin, this is for you. Adult and teen readers, ages 14 and up. At least this guy will acknowledge, that 14 is teen, not adult. Who enjoy thoughtful, layered storytelling and striking visuals, will find a lot to connect with here. Chris, tell us about your artistic style and how your creative process developed over time. David, my style is rooted in storytelling that honors character, legacy, and emotional continuity. Drawing from mythology, moral conflict, and real life experience, I tried to recapture um, what made Bronze Age comics so powerful: clear stakes, noble heroes, and tightly structured arcs, while avoiding gimmicks like endless reboots or multiverse resets. I outline first, then layer in world building and pacing like a slow burn thriller, um, always aiming to say something meaningful beneath the action. Chris, can you introduce us to the creative team behind Battle Raven, Enter the Raven? David, visually, Battle Raven, Enter the Raven was brought to life by innovative Pixels Art Studios, a talented team based in Pakistan. I discovered them on Fiverr and was immediately impressed by their style, professionalism, and attention to detail. They handled everything from pencils and inks to colors and layout, delivering high quality, um, high quality layered files that exceeded expectations. Their commitment and ability to translate my vision has made them invaluable creative partners. I couldn't have asked for a better team to help launch Battle Raven. Let's see. Chris, what's your production workflow like? How far along is the book right now? David, Battle Raven Enter the Raven is fully complete and available as a digital download. I like to work well ahead of the curve. As of October 6, 2025, so this past Monday, I've completed the scripts for issues number 1 through number 19, and I'm currently midway through scripting issue number 20. The framework and overarching plots for issues 21 through 30. Now, this guy's making a full series out of this thing. I mean, quite impressive, all the work this guy's putting into it. Are already outlined and in place. My process is highly structured, in parentheses there, well, about half the time anyway, on parentheses, but flexible, with a strong emphasis on long-term storytelling and character continuity. Chris, what has the journey of self-publishing and crowdfunding taught you so far? David, I've learned that self-publishing is extremely difficult, especially when you're starting from scratch with limited resources. Over the last 2 years, I've had multiple failed crowdfunding campaigns and an attempt at a digital preview that never took flight. But each setback taught me something valuable about the timing, marketing, and audience. So, to the person early to start jump from the Starship Trooper doesn't work, right? See, sometimes the crowdfundings don't necessarily work, partly because people don't, fund them. There are probably people like yourself who then no, this doesn't seem right. This seems like a scam, and then the books don't get published because people didn't put any faith in it. So, That's why a lot of these guys who do crowdfunding are very appreciative of those who contribute. Let's see now. Over the last 2 years, I've had. Okay, yeah. We read that part. But each setback taught me something valuable about timing, marketing, and audience engagement. I keep going because of a quote always stuck with me. Quote: "If you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate." IBM founder Thomas J. Watson, Sr. Interesting. Chris, what's on the horizon? Are there more stories coming in the Battle Raven universe? David, absolutely. Battle Raven Enter the Raven is just the beginning. I've completed scripts for issues 1 through 19. I'm currently writing issue number 20. Have the core structure and story arcs in place for issues 21 through 35. The long-term goal is to build a complete, interconnected universe rooted in mythology, character growth, and emotional stakes. There's a lot more coming. See, Chris, are there any special features or perks for readers interested in supporting the comic? David, Enter the Raven isn't a crowd-funded release, but I've made page 6 of the preview available as a free digital download so readers can get a taste before purchasing. More information is available on the Battle Raven landing page. That's the one that we, of course, put up. This standalone preview is full color, high resolution, and designed for digital platforms, perfect for desktop, tablet, or phone. It includes a fully illustrated cover, credits page, 8 full comic pages, and 4 splash pages for maximum visual impact. It's a polished glimpse of what's to come, crafted entirely with professional print-ready production standards. Chris, any last words you'd like to leave with our readers before we finish up? David, I'd like to sincerely thank Bleeding Fool for giving indie creators like myself a space to showcase our work. Battle Raven has been a passion project for years in the making, and I'm incredibly proud to finally share a glimpse with readers. If you check out the preview and enjoy it, I'd be grateful if you shared it with others. Every bit of support helps, but the foundation for what comes next, the Raven has landed. But this is just the beginning. That's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign or have a comic available for purchase online and you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here. So we can hopefully help you get more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Until next time, support indie comics. Alrighty then. So there we go with that one. So yeah, a little long tonight, admittingly. I'll go through in a moment here. As soon as I clear some stuff out here, I'll go through the links. If you guys want to go check those projects out. Let's see. First project, of course, we talked about so Extraordinary Heroes as a Fund My Comic project. There's the link for the YouTubers, and there's a link for the Rumble viewers. And our next stop, of course, Button A 2, the first night of the full moon. Also a actually go to the next one there because I kind of inadvertently shortchanged them on the so there's the links there for you guys if you guys want to go check that out. And then we have Dead Inspector, which I believe was a Kickstarter project. There's a link for the YouTube, and there's a link for Rumble. And finally, of course, the last project we talked about tonight, on basically being promoted out of its own site altogether, Battle Raven. Enter the Raven. If you guys want to go check that out, there's a link for the YouTube, and then there's a link for the Rumble viewers. All right, so I think so now, of course, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Now, of course, last night, Dynamite was 2 nights ago, a special episode, but they did do a collision taping last night. We won't actually go through the results until, of course, next week, as the show itself won't air until till Saturday. So, but anyways, so looking ahead to tonight's I guess both TNA Impact and Ring of Honor shows. So on tonight's Impact, coming from the Edmonton Expo Center, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, on Access TV with Tom Hannafan and Matthew Ringwald, all on Access TV. In a battle of two former tag partners for battle of the team that was a 2-time TNA World Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Danny Luna is set to take on Jody Threat. In a 4-way tag team match, the Great Hands of Order 4 of Jason Hodge and John Schuyler will be taking on the team that had rechristened themselves Sinner and Saint, Judas Icarus and Travis Williams. The Radicals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. The Systems, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. Matt Cardona is set to take on Ryan Nemeth. And I guess in a 6-man tag match, so I guess wrestling twice in one night. Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, who were involved in a 4-way tag match as well, along with JDC. We'll be taking on Order 4 of course, the Great Hands and Mustafa Ali. In a no DQ match, Eric Young takes on Joe Hendry in a battle of 2 former world champions. Moose takes on NXT's Ridge Holland. And Mike Santana is set to take on Cedric Alexander Prime. So there we go with that one. Now let's look ahead to tonight's Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor on Honor Club, coming from the RP Funding Center in Lakeland, Florida, with Caprice Coleman and Ian Riccaboni on commentary. Opening match set to take place. The Spanish Announce Project of Angelico and Serpentico are set to take on Logan Cruz and Tyshon Perez. IWGP Women's Champion Saudi defends the title against Alex Windsor. Shane Taylor of Shane Taylor Productions is set to take on Beef. Viva Van is set to take on Billy Starks in a one-on-one match. In a match for the Ring of Honor World Title, Bandito defends against CMLL and Don Callis family member Hechicero. Well, that's all we got for the wrestling wrap-up tonight. We'll of course give the results for these shows tomorrow, as well as look ahead to tomorrow night's SmackDown and look ahead to this for tomorrow night, as we are running a little long tonight. But with that, now we're going to go ahead and move right on to this day in each history. As of course, today is Thursday, October the 9th, 2025. So let's take a look back at this date in each history. History! So 2019. 2020. 2020, and the 2015, and 2010. All right. So with that being, so let me just go ahead now. So first off, head back 15 years ago today, as on this date, 15 years ago today, back in the year 2010. In the year 2010. Zex feels Fortune Artery Fortune Arterial Akai Yakusoku premiered on TV Tokyo on this date 15 years ago today. So 15 years ago today, Zex Feels anime series Fortune Arterial Akai Yakusoku premiered on TV Tokyo on this date back in 2015. The plot of the series, Fortune Arterial's story revolves around male protagonist Kohei Hasakura, who transfers into a prestigious public school in the style of a Western 6-year school encompassing junior high and high school students. The school, named Chuchikin Academy, is on an island named Tamatsu Island, offshore from mainland Japan, and the only way to get there is by boat. Soon after transferring, he discovers that one of the students in the class next door to his, Erika Sendo, is in fact a type of vampire. So some interesting tidbits there on that. So 15 years ago today, Fortune Arterial Akai Yokusaku premiered on TV Tokyo on this date back in 2010. So as we prepare to move on here, as we move ahead to the year 2015, as on this date in the year 2015, so I can find that. J. Ward Productions, in conjunction with DreamWorks Animated Television, the premiere of Mr. Body and Sherman show, based on characters originated by J. Ward back during their time back on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, premiered on Netflix on this date 10 years ago today. So 10 years ago today, J. Ward Productions and DreamWorks Animation Television's Mr. Peabody and Sherman Show premiered on Netflix on this date 10 years ago. So moving ahead to the year 2019. Ahead to the year 2019. Get there. This year in the so 6 years ago today, back in the year 2019, the 15th issue of Ice Cream Man from Image went on sale on this date back in 2019. Sold for $3.99, was 28 pages. And finally, as soon as I get there, on this date 5 years ago today, back in the year 2020, WWE held a live SmackDown from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. It was actually the first night of the 2020 WWE Draft as well. As, of course, on the event, the main event saw The Fiend defeat Kevin Owens in 10 minutes. In a match for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods of the New Day defeated Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura to become the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. In a match for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley retained via DQ loss over Sasha Banks. The show opened up with Big E defeating Sheamus in a Falls Count Anywhere match. So that's all we got for you guys tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow. We'll be back to our normal time tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Of course, we'll have more niche news then. We'll have, of course, Red Wrap Up, look back to tonight's Impact and Ring of Honor, as well as looking ahead to tomorrow night's SmackDown, and looking ahead to this weekend's AEW Collision, as well as the big events in Perth and the Bound for Glory event from TNA. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.